This video is about your great-grandmother, Viola Chatelain Tracy. Viola was born February 10, 1920 in North Ogden, Weber County, Utah, the first child of Myrtle Bates and Conard E. Chatelain. Viola was the oldest of 7 children: Delbert, Levere, Eugene, Russell, Lucille, and Gordon. She learned domestic responsibilities, but mostly enjoyed following her father around outside and helping him. She received her formal education in the Ogden public school system up to the 9th grade. In her teenage years, she worked cleaning house for women who had just given birth. She had a flair for fashion and always dressed well. I remember that she also loved to accessorize with jewelry. At age 19, she married Wallace H. Tracy, January 23, 1940, in her mother's parlor in North Ogden. Viola and Wallace were introduced by Viola's mother, Myrtle, because Myrtle did not like the young man that Viola was dating at the time. Their sealing was performed the 24th of February, 1947, in the Logan, Utah temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They moved to the Oliver Springs Ranch in the Stanrod area of Cassia County, Idaho, where they farmed, milked cows, and raised beef. Their first home was a small one-room house that was moved from a homestead near Tabletop Butte. If you look at the picture on the left side, you'll see the original home that was brought down. Each of the logs were numbered so that they knew how to reassemble the house. On the right side is Tabletop. Later, a bedroom and kitchen were added on, then a bathroom and back porch, then finally a sitting room on the east side. That's the house I remember. In this house, Wallace and Viola raised 2 sons, Kent and Harold. Viola was no stranger to hard physical labor. She even enjoyed it. She would work outside right along with the men, then come inside to clean house and prepare meals. She milked cows, cleaned stalls, and tended chickens, and often got up in the night to check on furrowing pigs or calving cows. She burned weeds and drove tractor while the men did other things. A day off was rare, even when she was pregnant. In fact, 2 days before delivering Harold, Viola and Wallace were out in the garden harvesting potatoes. Grandma was not able to bend over to pick up the potatoes, so she carried the buckets. Some early memories that Harold had were being wrapped up in a blanket and being taken outside with them while they worked. A neighbor commented that Viola's floors were so clean that a person could eat off of them. Her yard was her solace. She kept it immaculate and even hauled buckets of water to the many trees in her yard. P.S. I really didn't like those darn trees, because it seemed we were always being asked to pick up the fallen branches off the lawn so Grandpa could mow. Grandma would bribe us with a really old, hard piece of candy as a reward after we were done. A story that Grandpa enjoyed telling was that shortly after they were married, he taught Viola how to plow the Southwest 40 field with a team of green plow horses. After he got her started, he left to move some cattle in Lynn and was gone for 12 to 14 hours. Viola did not know how to stop this spunky team of horses and plowed all day until Wallace came home. Viola and Wallace earned extra income by selling eggs and potatoes at the Naft store and at a cafe on the Stravell Highway. For years they milked cows by hand, then were able to obtain 2 battery-fed milking machines to speed up the milking time. The milking machines were charged by a windmill out back, but did not supply enough electricity for appliances in the house. They had a kerosene motor fridge and a wood cook stove. Now, before the cell phone was ever imagined, Grandma could communicate long distances wirelessly. If she needed to get a hold of Wallace while she was in the house, she simply called out across the farm to him, and he heard her every time. Viola was active in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where she served as a Relief Society president, visiting teacher, and teacher in the primary and children's Sunday school. She kept track of the birthday and anniversary announcements from the ward bulletin and called each ward member on the day of their birthday to wish them a happy birthday. She often bore her testimony at church. She and Grandpa rode with us to church each week. Her bowed legs made it difficult to walk, so we often parked in the handicapped spot for her. At one point, she decided I was just the right height to lean on while she was walking into the building. I soon got tired of that and asked Mom and Dad to buy Grandma a cane instead. Grandma became pretty proficient at using that cane and even found other uses for it besides walking. I remember Grandma had her favorite chair right next to the window. It was surrounded by bags full of yarn and material, and probably many other things, but I mostly remember the yarn. Those bags made a great cushion for sitting next to her, while she would listen to me read the children's books they had in the house. When Grandma wasn't reading, crocheting, or binding a quilt, she would look out that window that faced the road and the farm. We knew as children walking around the farm that Grandma knew what we were up to. I remember thinking Bonita and I were pretty sneaky climbing up the old grain elevator and onto the roof of one of the old buildings. But sure enough, we got into trouble because Grandma saw us. She was always aware of our comings and goings and never failed to tell us to dress warmer and to come in out of that night air, even in the heat of August. Every time we would have company, she would call and come over. She was more comfortable visiting with people at our house instead of hers. Viola was a talented seamstress and did all kinds of handwork, especially crochet. From what I saw, she didn't read a pattern, but could merely look at a picture and then make it. Her family enjoys many of her creations. What you see are the items she made for me. The clown had all the colors of the rainbow on it, because Bonita and I would often sing the rainbow song for her and Grandpa. Bonita remembers sitting at her feet rolling balls of yarn for her as a skein of yarn came to the end. She passed on her talent of crocheting, and that is something her granddaughters enjoy doing as well. She enjoyed serving others. I know that she has bound and crocheted many quilts for people over the years. She would often come over to visit and fold the laundry for us. She was also a great listener. Before I was old enough to go to school, I would often sleep in while Mom took my sisters to the bus stop down the road. If I woke up while she was gone, I would call Grandma. I knew she would always answer and be there to keep me company until Mom got back. I would talk her ear off about anything I could think of, and even retell her the same jokes over and over again. She always acted like she didn't know the punchline. Sometimes I would stretch the cord of the phone over to the piano and play her a song. I still remember the way she would clap for me. Being the youngest and the only one at home could be pretty lonesome sometimes, and I love that Grandma always had time to listen to me. After Grandpa died in 1993, Viola had a hard time being alone in her house. She stayed with us for months and shared a bedroom with Bonita. Eventually, she went back home until she was not able to care for herself, and then moved in with Harold and Charlotte for many years. In 2005, after a stroke and hospital stay, Grandma moved to Parkview Rehabilitation and Care in Burley, Idaho. Viola stayed there for 6 years. She hung on to life longer than we had expected, despite the fact that she could not walk or feed herself. She had several mini strokes and congestive heart failure. Viola passed away February 22, 2011, at the age of 91. She is preceded in death by Wallace, her husband of 53 years. I hope you've enjoyed getting to know your great-grandma Tracy a little better. I've shared my personal memories of Grandma, but I'm sure your moms have more stories they can add. Grandma was quite a character and had some personality quirks that kept life on the farm interesting. Maybe that's something you can ask your mom about. Also, if you had a chance to meet Viola personally, please share your memories of her in the comments. Thanks for listening.